What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Iron Maiden, and we're back with a tune from their Powerslave album. Big fan of this album, I mentioned it before. I like all their stuff, and someone was actually just commenting on one of my reaction videos to Iron Maiden. They were saying, like, I think it was Noxivs, and he was saying, like, for some people, the early Bruce albums, like, are the absolute, like, gold standard for Iron Maiden, and some people are not so fond of the stuff that came later. And then there's some other people, I guess, who, like, Brave New World and on, they're very positive and like, oh, it's like a mature, like, sophisticated sound, and they like it better than the early stuff. But this person was commenting and saying, like, I actually like them both, and I fully agree. I'm there for all the albums that I've listened to. You know, again, I sort of focused on the Bruce period, like 1 and 2, meaning I've bought all the albums where Bruce is the singer, although not the stuff before that or not the stuff in the gap in between in the 90s. But yeah, for me, I enjoy bands that explore different avenues of their sound and, you know, do some experimentation within the larger idiom they're working in. So I'm for all of it. I love it. But again, the first 4, maybe 5 albums really made an impression on me when I was going through their chronology. But yeah, so this is a song that we're going to listen to called 2 Minutes to Midnight. Most fundamentally, it relates to the Doomsday Clock, which, if you didn't know, you know, in the nuclear saber rattling of the late 70s and 80s, ultimately it led some scientists and, like, political analysts and so on to create this concept called the Doomsday Clock, which is essentially how close are we as humanity to nuclear bombing ourselves into extinction or to, like, a pre-industrial state. You know, and based on, like, military movements at the time and, like, political statements about, you know, military actions and so on. And apparently 2 minutes was, it might have been like 30 seconds or something, but it was like 2 minutes, I think, was what was the assessment, is how close we were to, like, a global, you know, ICBM exchange, you know, civilization catastrophe. And so this song, it gets to the issue of war, of humanity, and I do think the song sort of, there's a tension, there's a balance. I think the song essentially makes the case that, look, humans have engaged in warfare and used weapons going back to the earliest days, and it's sort of like part of what we do, and it's like, oh, look at these big weapons, they're so impressive and powerful and whatever. But the flip side of that is that they kill people, and then sometimes they kill civilians, or the young people who are sent to go fight in wars who may not even fully understand why and where they're being sent and so on, they end up dying as well. And so the song is sort of like exploring the sort of excitement, if you will, but also the terror, death, and destruction inherent in warfare. So I think the song is trying to look at warfare from multiple sides, but it is a warning. It is sort of like a, hey, you know, we could end up killing the unborn in the womb, which is part of the chorus, and I think in the song it functions as a metaphor. But again, it does speak to the idea of young people being particularly notable victims of warfare. And indeed, there's a couple lines that really stuck out to me when I first listened to this. One of them is something like, we build up the machine, or the jaws of war, and then we feed them with our babies. And again, it just speaks to the, like, way in which, like, part of, you know, humans and the way we organize our societies as far as back as we've recorded things is like, oh, well, we, you know, we have big powerful centers, and, you know, we protect these things with weapons, and we'll, you know, go conquer other places if we feel the need and so on. But the reality is that means that there are other humans, including children, dying. And so, again, like, even in a single line, I think this song has a sort of tension when it comes to humans and warfare and violence. But there's another song, which, again, I think speaks to this tension, but from a different angle, and it talks about, like, blood is, like, freedom's stain. Which, like, I forget exactly how it articulates in the larger verse, but that's essentially the metaphor that, like, yeah, sometimes violence can be used to ensure, you know, greater tranquility and or freedom for people who deserve it. But don't, like, make no mistake, like, the stain that leaves behind will be measured in blood. So again, it's just this, like, really profound song that sort of approaches humans and our propensity or proclivities for violence, depending on who you are. So yeah, look, I'm anti-war. I try to be as non-violent as possible, certainly in my personal life, but, you know, even on a larger level, I do think that avoiding violence and violent solutions to problems is the best way to go. But I do get that throughout human history and right up into the present, there are many situations which are solved for better or for worse with violence, and that there are many people who are quick to use that as a means to solve things. So I think the song is very relevant, not only when it was written in the 80s, and it was very relevant then, but I think it's become relevant again. You know, you may not be aware, but there are national governments that are now talking about shooting nuclear weapons at multiple other countries, and so, you know, it feels like if we're not 2 minutes to midnight, we might even be a little closer than that. We might be like, you know, 45 seconds from midnight, or to midnight. So yeah, that's what I think the song is about. Let me know if you have a different take. As I said, I haven't been listening to Iron Maiden nearly as long as some other people out there, so I fully respect that, like, my takes might be missing some crucial context, so please do let me know if you have a better take on this, or one that at least is a little more elaborate in different areas. Do want to give a shout out to the disc again. I mentioned it before, when I react to physical media on this channel, I do like to sort of celebrate the artwork and the whole, like, release. But yeah, so here we go. This is Iron Maiden, 2 Minutes to Midnight, on their album Powerslave, which is 1984. That tempo change really hit me when I first listened to this, because it's rocking and then it goes into this, like, kind of uncertain, sort of stagnated rhythm. Kill there. Yeah, I love those drums. I literally stopped this song when I first heard this. I was like, oh my god, that line. I missed the setup line again, but that was it. That, like, blood is freedom stained. Like it was convergent solo work. It's like every video, but I just can't get over their guitar work. And their tempo I said the song has some cool riffs before we started, that's one of the ones I was thinking of. Into that main groove. Again, their composition is crazy. The body bags, the children torn in two. War again, blood is freedom's stain. In this context, it's talking about the long night, the end. Amazing. As I mentioned, when I first listened to this album, that was one of the songs that really hit me, and I think I, immediately re-listened to it. And as I mentioned, that line about like building up the jaws of the war machine and then feeding it with our babies, I literally hit the stop button. It was just like, oh my god. Let me just sort of like let that line sink into my brain for a minute. Okay, I guess we can play again. But yeah, it's another masterpiece. It's another well-written song. The composition is fantastic. The progression of that section where, like, again, I'm not sure if it was like two guitars like soloing at the same time, like convergently. It's what it sort of sounded like, but again, I don't know like their songs and like the specific composition as much as surely some other fans out there. So someone let me know if that is indeed the case, or whether that was just one solo with maybe like supporting guitar. I'm not sure. But yeah, I love the composition and sort of the sequencing of the song. And like I said, it's a song that I think it takes a nuanced look at humans and our propensity for violence, including on a large scale and what we call warfare. But it is also a warning to humans that, Eddie will come for us all, like if we just continue to send our children to death and drop bombs on children and ultimately destroy the unborn, the young generation in the womb. So yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know if you're a fan of that one. I think the only song, or the only album now I haven't reacted to a song from, is Matter of Life and Death, which I've heard, a lot of people like critically, like that's one of the ones that really made an impact on like, the music scene, and people were like, oh my god, not only are they back, but like this is maybe the best they've ever done. I absolutely love the album going through it, but I sort of interact with each album as sort of a separate thing. So like when I listened to it, I was like, this is amazing and fantastic, but I don't remember thinking like, wow, this is way better than anything they've ever done. It was just like, it's another example of how good they are. So, like I said, I'm going to get to that album soon. Let me know if there's a particular song from it anyone would like to hear. But yeah, so I've almost gotten through at least one song from all the studio albums, but there's so many great songs to go. I just got the Live After Death album, so lots more Iron Maiden reactions coming. Do let me know if there's one you want to hear. Other than that, thank you for listening and watching. I really do appreciate it. Have a good day, have a good night, and I will see you next time. Peace.